Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the Terrace RCMP are trying to find a stolen vehicle, the provincial government's attempt to release some news quietly has backfired, and the University of Toronto is trying to disperse a pro-Palestine encampment.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin, and here's what's making news in the Northwest and beyond today. To begin, citizens were speaking out at Terrace City Council last night about the ongoing difficulties on Graham Avenue. CFTK-TV's Jaylene Matthews has more.
The lowest one received.
Frustrations were aired at council last night over the sewer and water replacement project on Graham Avenue that has gone drastically over budget and schedule, with many operational overruns. Mark Snelling spoke to council on behalf of himself and his neighbors. Among a list of questions, they wanted to know if the bid of the highest contractor, Progressive Ventures, was the lowest one. They also pointed out a lack of communication by the city on the project's timelines.
We'd also like to know what has prevented noticing the neighbors of Graham Ave for water and sewer shutoffs. What planning took place for traffic pattern changes at Warner Ave and Molitor Street, and how that was communicated, if at all. How are changes to the access of Graham Avenue properties via Kenny Street or Molitor Street communicated? How were residents to know which way to come when it changed multiple times per day?
Other issues pointed out were access, traffic control, and safety. Snelling went on to ask how the City of Terrace plans to compensate citizens for the disadvantages.
On the matter of compensation, given that the repairs prevented normal use of the land for more than 3 months of both 2023 and 2024, will the city cancel, refund, or reduce tax levied on that land? If no, how does the city plan to compensate residents, property, and business owners of Graham Avenue?
The mayor did acknowledge the inconvenience in response.
What I will say, Mr. Snelling, is this has been a very unfortunate situation. I don't think anybody's happy with how this has played out and the duration it's taken. There's been some unforeseen complications that have really created this issue, and I apologize to the residents on Graham Avenue. I'm sorry that they've had to go through this, and I'm looking forward to this road being paved and getting this behind us. I will say that I travel down Graham every once a week in the wintertime just to see how things were, and I know some of council did the same thing too, because nobody felt good with the situation last winter. But we'll reach back out with all these questions that you've asked, and staff can respond to those.
Many unforeseen issues have plagued this project, like seeping groundwater and unanticipated natural gas utilities. The project was originally priced at $2.59 million, but the price tag has since risen to an estimated $4.74 million. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
Terrace City Council was also asked last night to receive a report on the town from BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. CFTK-TV's Jaylene Matthews again explains further.
A delegation representing the Terrace chapter of the Council of Canadians brought human rights to the forefront at yesterday's Terrace City Council meeting. Recently, a report was published by BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. Baseline Project Community Briefs aims to provide snapshots of human rights issues being faced by select BC communities. Bruce Bidgood and Valerie Wright presented the findings of the report to Council, asked they receive it and consider how to apply the findings.
Let me summarize. 4 issues, right? Discrimination and colonization, health, housing, education, and 1 corollary, the fact that we don't have enough resources and everybody comes here.
The full report is available online. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
The Terrace RCMP recently put out an article on their website asking for help from the local public to try and find a stolen vehicle. Although this time, instead of being something more common like a car or truck, the stolen piece of property is a 2023 green Polaris 450 HO ATV. The ATV is believed to have been stolen sometime between May 9th and 15th from a Mecco on River Drive in Terrace, and while the photos on screen isn't the exact one that was stolen, it does look fairly similar to it. The Terrace RCMP are asking that anyone who may know where the ATV is currently located or who may have been the one to take it to call them at 250-638-7400 or BC Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. A recent order from the province of BC involving the Environment and Land Use Act has made the Tahltan First Nation quite happy. The order in question from the province prohibits anyone from traveling to Tahltan territory with the express purpose of mining jade, and the nation has responded by saying that this move is a big step towards proper reconciliation with the government, as well as some appreciated environmental protection. This new decision from the provincial government is meant to cover Northwest BC and doesn't affect any other parts of the province. While the Tahltan First Nation has historically worked with parties that respect their rules and principles, the nation has never been happy with what they call the quasi-unregulated jade extraction, since they don't really get any benefits from it. But now, that shouldn't happen anymore. Coming up next is a look at a trial for a woman's murder. Welcome back. It was a shocking start to a high-profile trial of a man accused of killing his wife. Naomi Onatera was a beloved Surrey teacher librarian. Crown and defense agree on some of the steps Opus Regis took to dispose of her body. CTV's Penny Daflos was at the court and awarding some of the details are disturbing.
We saw an unusual start to this trial with a surprising amount of really disturbing detail that was presented as agreed upon facts by both the Crown and the defense. Opus Regis is facing a count of manslaughter and another of indignity to human remains in the death of his wife, Naomi Onatera. Madam Justice Martha Devlin heard that Onatera's friends and family were alarmed that they couldn't reach her in August of 2021 and confronted Regis at their Langley home. Her mom called police and Regis said he was leaving to add minutes to his cell phone and take their toddler for ice cream. The accused actually took the child to Maple Ridge, then Langley, then Fort Langley, while allegedly wearing a backpack with Onatera's bones cut into, quote, finger-sized pieces. It was after midnight, just hours after his mother-in-law had called police. The prosecution says Regis scattered his wife's bones in the Fraser River and some bushes. Onatera's family was in the courtroom as those details were presented to the judge as fact. How she died is still unclear.
On behalf of the family, we're just relieved to finally start this process, and we just want to see the strongest justice for my sister delivered.
Under law, Regis is innocent unless convicted in court. The Crown has filed 40 exhibits in the case, including surveillance videos and video of Regis speaking with investigators and undercover cops. There are also bone and hair fragments found around the radial saw at the couple's home. 2 knives and a handsaw were also seized. As more gruesome details emerge, Onatera's family hopes the beloved teacher librarian is ultimately remembered for the warm and loving person she was.
She was an amazing mother. She lived for her daughter, and she would do anything for her. And that's one of the hardest parts, is knowing that she won't get to do that. She won't get to see all her milestones.
Crown told the judge today that they're only going to be calling 2 witnesses, but they do expect that the time they'll need to take to wrap up this entire thing will take as long as initially expected, and that means it could be a month before this trial is over. Penny Daflos, CTV News, New Westminster.
Attempting to release bad news quietly on Friday may not have worked the way the provincial government hoped. Construction delays on the new Pattullo Bridge and the Broadway subway line were front and center, with all parties accusing each other of not getting things done. St. John Alexander reports.
Months away from an election, and most politicians would be touting their many achievements. And the Premier was at yet another announcement showing off a faster way to get building permits. But there will be no ribbon cutting for his party, no victory lap, on 2 mega projects that surely would have created a big pre-election splash. The new Pattullo Bridge and the subway line to UBC that are once again running behind schedule.
It's on brand for the NDP. They're going to overpromise and they're going to underdeliver.
The opposition parties, sounding like they're in full election mode, quickly discounted the government's reasonings. The pandemic, a strike, and supply chain issues.
And you can't be just pointing fingers everywhere saying it's their fault. It's because of concrete, or it's because no. Look, these are things that are no longer going to be problems. They have to be worked into projects.
Well, I think it's profoundly ironic to hear from the opposition parties who sat around. I mean, the leaders of these parties sat around the cabinet table and they had the chance to build these projects.
Eby fired back at his opponents, pointing to their past record before singling out the leader of BC United.
In fact, Kevin Falcon said he was going to build the Broadway SkyTrain project, but then he didn't do it.
Well, it was Kevin Falcon that built the Canada Line. It was Kevin Falcon that built Sea to Sky Highway. It was Kevin Falcon that built the Port Mann Bridge, and I can keep going on and on.
On Friday afternoon, the BC government quietly revealed the subway line to UBC that was supposed to open next year, then 2026, has been put off again until 2027. The new Patello Bridge that was supposed to be up and running by now won't open until next year.
It's our government that is building these things. It is our government that is building the schools in Surrey. It is our government that is building or expanding 15 different hospitals.
Most agree these projects are needed. Drivers, passengers, and at least one political party likely wish they'd been built faster. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
The days of using cell phones in class could be numbered for BC students. The province and local school districts have plans to restrict smartphones in September. CTV's Craig Krust now with more and how the Vancouver School Board plans to make the changes.
The last thing students are thinking about right now is back to school in September, but school districts across the province are being tasked with preparing and creating rules when it comes to cell phones in the classroom as the province pushes for restrictions. A conversation that will take place tonight at the Vancouver School Board meeting.
Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat.
One measure being proposed would be to update schools' code of conduct for kids in kindergarten through grade 6, requiring them to keep phones on silent and out of sight for the entire school day. The policy for middle and high schoolers remains unclear, but a motion asks that the proposed policies are made this summer.
And the third part of it is to strike a working group where we then work with all of our different stakeholders to help inform what will happen for the older grades. I think distractions in a class setting are becoming a bigger issue than perhaps they were in the past. So I'm getting a lot of support when it comes to restrictions.
This all comes months after Premier David Eby announced the province is cracking down on phones in schools as the level of distraction and online threats grow, something a group of Canadian researchers found most feel a ban is necessary.
So what we found is about 55% of Canadians believe that cell phones shouldn't be allowed in classrooms, and about 36% believe that they shouldn't be allowed in classrooms unless a teacher feels that they're useful or reasonable to use for a particular reason.
And BC would be following the likes of Ontario and Quebec when it comes to restrictions for cell phones in the classroom. In the meantime, the motion going to the board tonight would call for the superintendent to have rules in place by July 1st. Craig Crow, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to tonight's weather, the north coast is expected to get a chance of showers plus a low at 7 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area will likely deal with a few showers at a low of 6 degrees. And the Buckley Valley and Lakes District should see a chance of showers too, but with a low at 1 degree. On the north coast, the upcoming week is supposed to have a couple smidges of sun, but rain and clouds otherwise, and a high moving from 10 to 14 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their next week or so should also consist of a little sun, but cloudy and rainy days other than that, and the high will bounce from 12 to 16 degrees. And in the Buckley Valley and Lakes District, the week for them will go back and forth between clouds and sun, and the high should shift between 12 and 18 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is utility work, bridge maintenance, road sweeping, construction work, roadside brushing, and paving operations. Highway 37 has some road sweeping, road maintenance work, and frost heaves. 37A has bridge maintenance and road maintenance work, some more road maintenance work on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has muddy sections and frost heaves. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, a couple's attempt to move homes went seriously awry. Welcome back. A Chilliwack couple says they feel like they were held hostage by a moving company they hired. The bill was far bigger than expected, and when they challenged the amount, the movers threatened to take off with their furniture. St. John Alexander has more details.
Knowing moving is a big job and isn't cheap, Kim Jans shopped around, comparing experience, quotes, and thought she'd found the perfect fit.
Their reviews were absolutely fabulous. They were really good.
Relieve all your moving stress.
She hired Let's Get Moving, 3 movers, a 26-foot truck for $229 an hour. She says the agent figured the entire move would take less than 10 hours. But on moving day, the wrong truck arrived, and it took another 2 hours to get the right one.
So in the meantime, they kept loading up the wrong truck.
Jans had already moved a lot of stuff with a U-Haul, so all that was left was about 30 boxes and the furniture from a 2-bedroom modular home. What Jans believes should have taken 2.5 hours took 5.
And I could just see them standing inside the truck, just standing there chatting.
Then at her new home, the mover stopped unloading the truck before they were finished and presented a bill, $3,486.53. That's about $1,000 or 4 hours more than she expected.
We challenged the bill. They pretty much said, no, this is the bill, this is the amount, and you need to pay it or we're going to drive away with the remaining items that are in the truck. They hold you hostage. Once they get your property in their truck, you are completely held hostage.
She filed a complaint, but the company would not return the near $1,000 she felt she was overcharged. That is, until we got in touch with Let's Get Moving. The owner of the local franchise wrote to Jans and apologized and agreed to reimburse her the full amount. I am deeply sorry for the mistakes that occurred, and Jans found him sincere.
Based on my previous experience with the moving company, I would probably say that it should have been done a little bit faster.
Over at the head office in Toronto, the company insisted it is running a good business with excellent customer service.
90% of our customers are very, very pleased with us.
Do you believe it's good practice to threaten to drive away with people's belongings when there's a disagreement with the bill?
That is not our intention to take your items away from you, but we do want to get paid.
And there are times, they say, that customers have refused after good service. Is it policy that if people don't pay and they have a disagreement,
no,
that
I'm
you
sorry,
will threaten to keep? It's not
no,
policy?
It's not
that
policy.
Was a mistake?
Yeah, that was a mistake, yes.
That shouldn't have happened?
No, that should not have happened.
What remains, however, is a settlement agreement they want customers to sign after refunds. It says they won't write negative reviews or they risk a $5,000 fine.
I just want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else.
To ensure it doesn't, the South Surrey branch says some of its workers will be given more training. At least one is no longer with the company. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Chilliwack.
The University of Toronto is seeking a legal path to end the pro-Palestinian encampment on campus set up nearly a month ago. The school is filing for a court injunction as protesters vow to remain put until their demands are met. CTV's Sean Leothog has the latest.
A steady downpour on the encampment at the University of Toronto as a deadline to vacate passed this morning, a moment that was marked by a rally.
We want divestment, we want disclosure, and we want it now!
With the pro-Palestinian encampment protesters receiving support from labor leaders.
If the University of Toronto makes a move against the students, they'll have to go through the workers first.
The university confirming they're seeking an injunction in Ontario Superior Court expected to be heard tomorrow morning and could take a couple of days. The university presented an offer to protesters last Thursday outlining a process for meeting some of their demands.
It's a notice of trespass.
On Friday, special constables from U of T presented the protesters with a note of trespass and a deadline for this morning after the university's offer was rejected. Students presenting a counteroffer last night.
The counteroffer remains the same.
Students demanding the university divest its endowment from investments that provide direct or indirect military aid to Israel, that the university disclose all publicly traded investments and suspend ties to a post-secondary institution operating in East Jerusalem and a university involved in developing weapons for Israel, while also asking for commitments that the university will not punish staff or students for engaging in the protest.
We have reported hateful acts and hateful speech to Toronto Police Services.
This as University President Merrick Gertler faced questions from MPs alongside other university presidents at the Justice Committee in Ottawa today.
Is it related to the encampment specifically? When were these people suspended or expelled?
Those processes are underway.
While the students say they aren't going anywhere.
Really, the ball is in their court, right? Students are here. They will continue to be here. They will continue to demand divestment despite the threats of police, despite the threats of academic repercussions.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is down to 1/100 of a cent. The price of gold is up $22. Oil is up $2.11. Natural gas is up 7 cents. Aluminum is the same. In Toronto, the TSX is down 108.33 points. The Venture Index is up 4.62. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 216.73, and Nasdaq is up 99.08. Still ahead, a rise in airline complaints has resulted in an investigation. Welcome back. The Competition Bureau is investigating Canada's airline industry due to rising complaints. There's a concern lacking competition is raising prices and giving travelers fewer options when booking. CTV's Pat Foran has more.
When most Canadians need to book a domestic flight, they have to fly with Air Canada or WestJet, although Porter has been expanding its fleet and adding destinations. With limited choices, Canada's Competition Bureau has announced a study to see if more can be done to bring new players to the market.
One of the benefits of competition is to bring downward pressure on price, and that is certainly important for consumers.
Lynx Airlines did create competition before it went bankrupt this year, joining Swoop and a long list of other discount airlines that have tried and failed to operate in Canada. With fewer airlines to choose from, there's been an increase in complaints about lost luggage, flight delays, and customer service.
When you try to call a call center, whether it's WestJet or Air Canada, what do you get? You get the automated voice and you get chatbots. And if you want to talk to somebody, good luck.
A recent J.D. Power survey on airline satisfaction found that Air Canada and WestJet ranked well below average in premium economy and basic economy when compared to other North American airlines. As satisfaction goes down, complaints go up.
There has been an uptick in consumer complaints over the last couple of years, and part of it is certainly driven by a lack of options for consumers.
Without more competition, Canadians could be stuck with subpar customer service.
Air Canada's and WestJet have basically said that mediocre performance is acceptable by the Canadian consumer. And so on-time performance, not a big deal. Delays, cancellations.
The Bureau says more competition will mean lower prices, better services, and improved productivity. It's calling for public feedback. You can submit your comments regarding the airline industry to the Bureau until June 17th.
That's our news. For everyone at CFTK-TV, I'm Cal Maslin. Thanks for watching.